learning to see past another's ego to their true self is one of the lessons that we're learning on our spiritual journey, right? We're learning to see past our ego to our true self, right? Forgiving ourselves, not holding anything against us, right? Learning our peace and learning that we're not guilty of the things that we've held against ourselves, right? That shame that we've held against ourselves, right? That's one thing that we learn. But the other thing is learning to do the same for everybody else that we come in contact with. And I'm talking about people who are literally against you, right? People who trying to take you out, all of that. That's what we're also learning. That task is what we're also learning, to see beyond their ego, you know? And it takes that understanding. You're left with that responsibility over that other person because you're the one with the understanding. You're the one with the awareness of what and who the true self is. And so you extend that to them, because in order to understand it for yourself, you have to understand it in everybody else too, you know? We're of one spirit, right? So you can't know the self. You can't see beyond your ego if you can't see beyond everybody else's, right? If you see the other person's ego and you see them as their ego, if you think of that person that's coming against you as an evil person, you're going to fall right back into the ego, right? You fall right back into it, because if you see them as evil and they're coming up against you, you're going to feel like you need to protect yourself against them. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to relinquish that to the Holy Spirit, right? You're not going to relinquish that responsibility of handling the situation to the Holy Spirit. You're going to hold on to it and do certain things to protect yourself. And it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? You're going to try to protect yourself. But that's what you're learning. You're learning to see beyond that. You're learning to regard them as you regard yourself, you know? You learn to see them as you see yourself, as you learn yourself. Because in order to learn, you have to teach, right? Everything that you're teaching, you're learning. Everything that you're teaching, you're learning. And if you're not teaching it, you're not learning it. It's not what you believe, right? In order to truly believe in yourself and truly believe that you're a divine being, you have to see it in everybody else. And this is the hard part, because this is the part of ourselves that we're building up. This is the biggest part of seeing past the illusion, right? To see others as yourself. You know what I'm saying? Everything the ego has taught us, everything that we've learned up to this point is that we're separate from everybody else, right? Is that there are people who are against us, people who are for us. We've ranked people in terms of what they have and what they do. You know what I'm saying? Everything causes separation within the ego. So once you try to get out of that, the biggest part is unlearning that we're not separate, right? We're different in terms of we're different people and we're learning in different ways, but we're of one spirit. We're not separate. You know what I'm saying? So learning to love your brother is learning to love yourself. Learning to love your sister is learning to love yourself. And that's everybody, you know? We're brothers and sisters in God. You know what I'm saying? And that's a truth, right? It's not something that we just say. It's the truth. When you're learning yourself, you're learning to live in the light. When you live in the light of your being, you're shining light on the lies, right? So that's why you have to see past the ego. That's why it's up to you, because you become a part of the undoing, right? So when you shine that light on the lie that person is projecting towards you, right? Say a threat, they're projecting some sort of threat on you, right? Or they see you as an enemy, right? And instead of you seeing them as an enemy back, you shine light on it. You shine light and you decide to see them for who they are, right? You decide to regard them for who they are, right? As not an enemy, right? And this doesn't mean that you have to fully engage with them. This doesn't mean that. But it's about you engaging with them in your mind, right? If they keep on coming around and they're the ones that's trying to do everything against you, it's up to you to not see them as that in your mind first. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that, again, you don't have to engage with them. You give that to the Holy Spirit, because how they're acting is they're gonna reap what they sow. You know what I'm saying? But they're not the enemy. You know what I'm saying? And you have to understand that within yourself, that they're not the enemy. Once you understand it within yourself, that's the only way to combat that. Oh, I don't even want to use combat. That's the only way to resolve that issue. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way to see the truth, is to see them as yourself, as to see them as not the enemy, you know? Remembering the illusion is getting out of the matrix, right? Remembering the truth is getting out of the matrix. What's truth and what's illusion, deciphering between the two is getting out of the matrix. When you engage in the conflict, you're reinforcing your belief within that conflict, right? If you're aware that it's a lie, if you're aware of who you are, then you're reinforcing your belief in a lie, right? The only thing that keeps these things going, the only thing that keeps the ego strong is our belief system, right? Our belief is our will, and our will is the strength of God. So the only thing that is keeping, you know, your will you can be strong against a lie, in a lie, or you can be strong in the truth, right? So you use your willpower to be strong in the truth. And that's where the work is going, that's where the effort is going, and that's how you're building up the strength of your will, is to, as you're thrown these tests, as people come up against you, you're learning to see beyond it. You're learning to reinforce the truth, right? Again and again and again, until it becomes second nature, right? And so you don't have to do it anymore. Somebody come up against you and you're like, you just give it to God. You know what I'm saying? You just give it to God. And you do this over and over again until it becomes your truth, until it becomes real to you, you know? And the reason why we gotta do it over and over again, because we've done that we're creating new avenues of understanding, right? New avenues of belief, because our belief is so set within the ego that our focus on conflict is very acute, right? So we're creating new avenues of focus. We're focusing on the truth now. So we're learning, we're carving out a new road as we learn these lessons, you know? We're carving out new understanding as we learn these lessons. So it is up to you, and it's not up to the other person to do these things for you. This is all for your growth, and it's also it's going to be used for the other person's growth as well. It might not feel fair because all the work is being put on you, but it is fair because they're going to have to do work as well, you know. But it's all being used for your good. This is all, everything that comes in your path is for your journey, right? So you don't have to look at the other person and be worried about their journey, you know. They have their own journey to worry about, you know what I'm saying? But everything that comes in your path is what you're worried about, is what you're working towards. The only thing that we're working against, the only thing that we have to be vigilant against is our ego, right? And every conflict is a lesson until you don't perceive it as a conflict anymore. You know what I'm saying? Conflict might come up against you, and you don't even, it's not a conflict. It's not real. And that's what you're trying to show yourself, that it's not real. You know what I'm saying? So you don't even perceive it as a conflict anymore. You perceive it as nothing, as meaningless, you know? And that's what you're trying to instill in yourself, right? That's what the Holy Spirit is trying to instill in you. That's what you're trying to learn. And the results of that is going to be used for your good, right? Because you're only sowing seeds of peace and love in that sense. You're anchoring yourself in love, and you're only sowing love. So you're going to reap love, you know? You're going to reap peace. Your world is going to reflect what you've sown, you know? And this is not a punishment by God, right? This is a learning. Earth is learning ground, right? So we're not being punished by learning these things over and over again. We're being conditioned in a different way, because if we're not conditioned in this way of our higher selves, then we're going to be conditioned in the way of the separation, right? Which is the ego. In some way, we're going to be conditioned, you know? So it's better to expand and grow in the Holy Spirit and use that as learning ground, so that you don't have to waste your time. You're wasting your time not being at peace, because when you're conditioned through the Holy Spirit, when you're learning through the Holy Spirit, it's leading somewhere. It's leading to your peace. It's leading to your growth. When you're conditioned within the ego, because it's false, it's not leading to your growth. You know what I'm saying? It's not leading to anything. You know what I'm saying? It's meaningless in itself. And when we're not awakened to these truths yet, it's not to say that we have not grown and expanded within the Holy Spirit, within ourselves. It's just that awareness is bringing us on another journey, right? Our awareness is waking us up, so that the journey is about learning how to live life within the awareness, right? Because thus far, before the awareness, our journey was about getting to the awareness, you know what I'm saying? And so the journey switches to learning how to live within the awareness, you know what I'm saying? All of it is expansion. All of it is expansion of the of your higher self, of your true self, you know what I'm saying? So it's nothing is a waste. Like, we don't live in vain at all. But we do wake up, we'll see where we have invested in meaninglessness. When you choose to acknowledge your part in an issue and give it up to the Holy Spirit, things will automatically work in your benefit, because you no longer have yourself within the issue, right? Even if the issue is still continuous, right? You no longer are fighting up here, you're no longer fighting in the physical. So things will miraculously work out, right? Because the Holy Spirit has control of this realm, right? So you're asking to let go of that. You're letting go of the fear of having to deal with it, right? You're letting go of your part within it, right? So you're no longer a stakeholder within that issue.